Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really pulling back the curtain on how news actually gets made, right now in 2025. If you're trying to stay well-informed, I think it's critical to understand that there's been this radical shift. The old ways, the old gatekeepers, they're just not the whole picture anymore. Our mission today is, it's to deep dive into the specialized digital tools journalists really rely on now. We're talking about tools that have made the traditional beat reporter waiting by the phone for a press release seem almost quaint. It's about finding sources, experts, global stories with incredible precision.
That's exactly it. The key takeaway from all the resources we looked at is that modern news gathering isn't just about grinding harder. It's about, accessing and leveraging the right technology. And the cornerstone of this whole workflow, it's a modern media directory. But forget dusty old address books. These are like specialized living search tools. They fundamentally change efficiency. They really define the new standard for finding stories.
Okay, so when I hear journalist database, my first thought, honestly, is still a glorified spreadsheet, a contact sheet. What makes these platforms so different? Why are they saving, potentially hundreds of research hours?
It really comes down to the depth of the professional context they provide.
Yeah.
Sure, you get the basics. Email, phone, social handles, maybe where they used to work. But these systems go way beyond that. They map expertise, professional behavior. You can filter instantly, not just by publication or where they are geographically, but, and this is key, by things like recent work samples. Real examples of what they're covering now.
Okay, so it bypasses that whole, is this the right person dance?
Exactly. If you need someone covering, say, infrastructure development in the Pacific Northwest, boom, you get accurate results in seconds, often with direct links to their last few articles.
That level of detail, that completely changes the outreach game. But what stops them from just becoming stale? Like an old address book that nobody updates, that seems like a huge challenge.
Right, and that's where the advanced features kick in. Our findings really emphasize how dynamic these things are. We're talking journalist profiles that aren't static. They show current roles, sure, but also, this is interesting, aggregated behavioral data. Some platforms track things like, how they prefer to be contacted, maybe even typical response times.
Whoa, so it's not just who they are, but how to approach them.
Kind of turns a contact list into a strategic guide, yeah.
And what seems truly transformative, based on what we read, is how the beat identification system has evolved. It's not just broad tags like tech or health anymore, is it?
Oh, not at all. It's moved way past that. The modern approach uses what the sources call granular specializations. So instead of just politics, the system might pinpoint a reporter specifically covering, say, voting machine security policy.
Wow.
Or instead of just business, you find someone focused on cryptocurrency regulation in the EU. Or even remote work culture policy. Super niche.
That precision is obviously powerful. But, does that create a different problem? If journalists only filter through these hyper-specific niches, do they risk creating a new kind of filter bubble, only seeing sources or angles within that tiny slice?
That's a really valid point. It's a recognized risk, actually. The directories give you efficiency, right? But the responsibility to consciously look outside that algorithm, to find those dissenting or maybe less mainstream voices, that's still 100% on the journalist.
Okay.
But the efficiency is also built for coordination. Many platforms now include built-in collaboration tools, so newsrooms can share source lists internally, track who's reached out to whom.
So multiple reporters aren't accidentally chasing the same person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or making sure adjacent angles on a big story get covered without overlap. It helps manage the whole effort. And when we talk about actually developing stories using these directories, their value really shines in those specialized investigations. Think about finding niche expertise. You can use these tools to locate specific academics, maybe specialized engineers, industry pros, people who can provide that really authoritative commentary or data.
And you can filter them, too, by location or if they've been quoted before.
Yep, filterable by expertise, location, even previous media appearances. It separates the deep dives from just, surface-level reporting.
And this capability, it doesn't just stop at the country's border, right?
No, definitely not. That strategic value gets amplified with cross-border collaboration. Reporters use these platforms to build pretty robust international networks. They can find colleagues in other countries covering the exact same granular beat.
Which must be invaluable for those big multi-region investigations.
Absolutely. Sharing local knowledge, resources. It makes those complex stories feasible in the way they weren't before.
Okay, collaboration sounds great, powerful even, but it all hinges on the data being right. Which brings us to that critical point our sources kept hammering home. All this digital speed is, well, useless if the data's old. Stale. The directory is just the starting point. That data verification is the user's job. Non-negotiable.
Yeah, totally. And that raises the question, okay, what's the actual process? What do journalists do quickly to make sure they're not emailing someone who left 6 months ago? Our sources detail this, like mandatory 3-step cross-check. It has to be rapid fire. First stop, LinkedIn. Always. It's usually the fastest place to check their current employer, see recent activity, profile updates, often faster than the directory itself.
Okay, LinkedIn first. Makes sense. Then.
Second, Google News. A quick search for recent bylines does a couple of things. Confirms they're still employed and still actively covering that specific beat. Plus, you can quickly see their latest focus, their writing style.
Right, get a feel for their current work. And the third step.
The third, and often the most current, is checking the author bios. You know, the little blurbs at the end of their published articles.
Ah, because the publisher updates those in real time.
Precisely. That's the direct confirmation of their current role and maybe even their specific area of focus right now.
Skipping that verification sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Oh, it's guaranteed to sink your own pitch.
Yeah.
Sending something to someone who's long gone, it doesn't just waste your time, it damages your credibility with that publication, maybe even with the person who replaced them. Verification is like the 5-minute task that boosts your success rate tenfold. Seriously.
So, okay, we've got verified contacts, accurate beats, awesome. But these directories don't exist in a vacuum, right? How do journalists actually integrate this gold mine of data with their other digital tools for managing the outreach itself?
Right. Integration is where the real power gets unlocked. Contacts often get exported into other complementary platforms. One tool that came up repeatedly was BuzzStream. Yeah, think of it like a specialized CRM, customer relationship management, but built specifically for media outreach. Journalists use it to build really targeted lists, keep track of conversations, manage those relationships over time, all while keeping the context and history logged.
So it's like a dedicated system for managing press contacts.
Exactly. And beyond the CRM, there's the strategic pre-contact research. That's key. Journalists use platforms like, X, LinkedIn, obviously, but even newer niche platforms like Bluesky.
Bluesky, interesting.
Yeah, sometimes those newer spots act as early warning systems for topics or interests. The idea is to observe what a reporter's been talking about recently, maybe engage authentically with their content first, build a little rapport before sending a formal pitch.
Turning a cold outreach into something warmer, more informed.
Precisely. It makes a huge difference.
But the technology seems like it comes with this massive trap. When you have that much data, that much efficiency, the temptation to just treat it like a bulk email machine must be enormous.
It is. And honestly, it's the single biggest mistake people make. Journalists we heard from consistently stress this. They can spot a generic mass email pitch, one that clearly just pulled a name from a directory without any real thought in seconds.
And those go where?
Straight to the trash. Or the archive. Ignored. One reporter actually told us they get pitches about stories they wrote like 5 years ago.
Ouch.
Yeah. Their exact quote was something like, if you haven't spent 60 seconds reading my last 2 articles, I'm not spending 60 minutes reading your pitch.
Fair enough.
Totally. So the tech actually demands a higher level of personalized communication in 2025. Your pitch has to reference specific recent work. It needs to acknowledge their actual expertise and clearly explain why this story matters to their specific audience. That human touch, it's everything.
Okay, so directories are great for finding people you already sort of know exist or specific kinds of experts. But where do the truly original stories come from? The ones that aren't in a database yet? The narratives bubbling up before they hit the mainstream?
That requires a different skill set. It's about actively monitoring cultural phone lines, you could say, watching for emerging narratives. Journalists now are almost like cultural seismologists. Seriously. They're actively tracking platforms like TikTok, Reddit, even niche Discord communities.
Discord? Really?
Oh, yeah. Looking for viral discussions, hashtag movements, those little subcultural shifts, because those often reveal bigger societal changes weeks, sometimes months, before traditional news picks up on them.
So it's about spotting the tremors early.
Exactly. Understanding the velocity of a topic before it becomes news.
What about more deliberate digging, like structured research into topics that might seem, boring on the surface, but actually have huge public interest implications?
That's the other side of it. That's the deep dive into public records and overlooked data. The very best stories often come from combining that directory efficiency with proactive, independent digging. Journalists are doing the unglamorous work, reviewing local government meeting minutes.
Oh, wow. The real nitty-gritty.
Yeah, the stuff council members debate at 11 p.m., digging through public records databases.
That detail must be where the hidden gems are.
Often, yeah. They're also analyzing demographic data, looking for stories in underreported communities, and monitoring academic journals, industry-specific trade publications, the stuff mainstream media often ignores, but contains crucial data.
Things like regulatory filings, too. Corporate disclosures.
Absolutely. Those can reveal major corporate or government trends long before they're formally announced or become obvious news. The most compelling stories, the ones that really break new ground, they're often hidden in plain sight, just one layer deeper than the daily headlines.
Looking ahead, then, this digital transformation driven by these tools, it's clearly not slowing down. What are the key predictions? How will these directories, these verification systems, continue to evolve?
Well, the future seems heavily driven by intelligence. AI, basically.
Right.
We can definitely expect AI-powered delivering much smarter matching algorithms. Imagine connecting journalists with sources based on really nuanced stuff, like maybe predictive compatibility based on writing style or previous coverage angles.
Wow, matching based on tone.
Potentially, yeah. And speed is going to be critical too. Real time. Everything will likely become the standard. Directory updates, someone changes jobs, changes beats reflecting within hours, not weeks.
That would dramatically cut down on that verification slog we talked about.
For sure.
And what about the collaboration side? You mentioned cross-border work.
Yeah, we anticipate enhanced collaborative journalism, making it even easier to run complex international investigations. Imagine journalist specializations mapped globally with seamless, maybe even secure resource sharing built in.
Interesting.
And the verification layer itself is going to get way more sophisticated. Think automated, multi-source checks running constantly in the background to maintain accuracy. That frees up the human reporters to focus on what tech can't do. The actual relationship building, the critical thinking, the analysis, maybe even adding secure communication channels for sensitive work. Hashtag outro Tamil.
Okay, so this deep dive really shows that these media directories, they're indispensable now for efficiency, for discovery, for networking across really specialized areas, even globally. But success isn't guaranteed just by having the tool. It's entirely about how you use it.
Absolutely. The journalists who are really thriving, they treat these tools as starting points, not endpoints.
Yeah.
They combine that structured data with sharp, critical, cross-referencing, that vital check against LinkedIn, Google News, author bios. They layer on that cultural trend monitoring we talked about. And crucially, they focus on genuine one-on-one communication, personalized outreach.
So technology is the amplifier.
Exactly. It amplifies reach and efficiency. But it's the critical thinking, the digging, and the authentic relationship building that still define great journalism. That hasn't changed.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, our listener. We've heard how journalists are tracking things like trade publications, niche Discord chats, even dry local government minutes to find those hidden stories. So think about this. What overlooked source of public information, maybe something specific to your field or interest, might you start monitoring today to gain your own informational edge? Food for thought. That's it for this deep dive. We'll talk next time.